Hello, fifth grade, and welcome to Positive Action for Today. We are now on Unit 4, where we will be focusing on getting along with others using social-emotional positive actions. Lesson 71. Today we will begin a unit about getting along with others. The lessons we will explore are ways all of us like to be treated, ways of making friends, and activities promoting good feelings about others. To begin our thinking about positive ways to get along with others, I will read a story about Mike, a lucky boy who got to go to Europe with his parents. Let's go ahead and begin. Mike's summer. "You should be excited," Mike's grandmother said. "Not every boy gets to spend his summer vacation in Europe." "Well, I don't want to go," said Mike. "I can't take my bike, and there's no place for Boomer. I want to play in my treehouse this summer. My bug collection needs more beetles and bees, and I won't be able to watch my favorite shows on TV." "My, but just think of all the friends you'll make," his grandmother replied. "Friends? I'm not very good at making friends, Grandma. No one will be able to understand me anyway," Mike said lamely. Sometimes we need words. We don't need words all to say something. You don't need to worry about making friends if you just remember to be one. Sometimes Grandma didn't make sense at all, thought Mike, as he crawled into bed with Boomer that night. The next morning he boarded the jet with his mother and father. His father was in the Air Force, so Mike had flown many times before. This flight was going to be long and boring, not to mention the summer that lay ahead, he thought. "Bonjour, je m'appelle Louis." Mike stared at the dark-haired boy who was coming along the path, riding a bike and waving his hand. Mike didn't know what to do, so he just smiled. Then Louis smiled, and Mike smiled some more. "Hi, Louis. My name is Mike," he said, pointing to himself. With a little sign language and a lot of smiles, the two boys shared most of the afternoon together. Louis lived close to the cottage where Mike's family was staying, and Mike's mother agreed to let him visit for a while. Louis's mother was a pleasant French woman. She didn't have to speak English to know that boys love cakes and cocoa. Just then, Mike had made a friend. It was time to leave. "Au revoir, Louis," said Mike as he smiled. "I promise I'll write. You write me too?" "Now I have a pen pal," he thought to himself. Mike didn't want to leave France. Now he had met Louis. What was there to do in Italy anyways, except for waiting on the Leaning Tower of Pisa to fall over? "Not the opera, Mom, please!" Mike didn't know what Italian opera was really all about, but he sure found out. During the intermission, he could hardly stop talking. "The boy who made everyone laugh was about my age. He's got to be strong to dance like that. I hope he dances in the second half." When the performance was over, Mike asked his parents to take him backstage to meet the young dancer. "Wow, that was great. You sure can dance. Are they all yours?" Mike asked, pointing to the many ribbons and pictures that hung on the wall. The boy nodded. "I started to take lessons when I was 3. "You speak English?" Mike said with surprise. "A little. I learned from some in school," the boy replied. "My name is Tony. What's yours?" After the introductions, which included Tony's parents and Mike's, Tony took everyone to see where the costumes were sewn and the scenery was made. While their parents were discussing things like parents discuss, Tony and Mike found out that they were quite a bit alike. They both had dogs. They liked to skate, and they loved to swim. Mike never thought he'd meet a friend at the opera, but he'd begun to learn what you never know where a friend might turn up. By the time they left Italy, 2 days later, Mike had another pen pal. "Dad, why didn't you tell me Germany had castles?" The ancient castles, some complete with drawbridge and moats, dotted the countryside. After seeing the one built for the opera, Mike was now climbing the stairs of a real one. Mike noticed a boy with a cast on his leg climbing all the stairs in the castle. "Did you see that boy?" Mike asked. "I feel sorry for him. I wonder what his name is." He approached the boy, who had stopped to catch his breath. "Hi, my name's Mike," he blurted out. "What's yours?" With a little sign language and a lot of smiles, they established that the boy's name was Hans. Together they explored the towers and dungeons and gardens that guarded the castle, playing two musketeers. Hours later, Mike's parents looked at their watches and told him it was time to go. They left, but not before Hans had invited Mike to visit the next day. "A tree house? You've got a tree house just like me," Mike said the next day as he pointed to the dwelling high above Hans' backyard. Hans looked down at his leg. "Well, there are other things we can do," Mike said. All day they laughed over comic books, played checkers and marbles, and taught each other bits and pieces of English and German. Just before they had to say goodbye, Hans pointed to his cast and asked Mike to sign it. Mike now had 3 pen pals. In Austria, the quaint shops offered everything from fine chocolate to carved wooden toys. Sometimes mothers can wear you out shopping for this and bidding for that, but fresh pastries were one thing even Mike couldn't resist. Trying to decide between cherry tarts and apple strudel is almost impossible. Nearby, a girl in a worn dress was also eyeing the pastries. Mike guessed she didn't have much money. "I'll take one of each," he said. Then he turned and offered one of the sweets to the girl. With a little sign language and a lot of smiles, the two communicated that they ate the sweets as they ate the sweets. When Mike's mom came out of the shop later, loaded with packages, Mike said, "Here, Mom, let me carry those to the car for you. This is Trina. She lives in that apartment right above the market." Trina nodded as she smiled and pointed up at the window. "May I come back and visit her tomorrow?" "Yes, you may," his mother replied. "I've already talked to her father. He's the shopkeeper." Mike was excited. Did you ever know a girl who liked frogs and snakes? Mike found out the next day that Trina did. Mike told her about his bug collection, which she thought was exciting. They spent the afternoon finding creepy things together. Trina was going to make a great pen pal. What number of pen pals is he at now? 4 pen pals. In England one evening, Mike looked up and saw 2 people on the rooftops above, each dressed in black cape and top hat with a long-handled broom. "Dad, what are they doing?" Mike wanted to know. "They're chimney sweeps," he was told, cleaning the soot from the smokestacks. "Hello!" he called. "Mind if I come up?" It was a father and son team. The boy's name was James. With their costumes and equipment, James and his dad looked like they were playing a game. "Mind if I try?" Mike asked. James loaned him his cape and his big black top hat. handed Mike his broom, and started to laugh. Now Mike couldn't understand what was so funny. He started to clean the chimney, and before he knew it, his face was covered in soot. James laughed even more. "You look just like me!" Then Mike started to laugh. In the week that followed, Mike and James shared many more laughs as they joked and teased. Home already? The summer was over and Grandma was at the airport to meet them. "I can't believe how fast the time went," he told her. "We went sightseeing and to the opera, we toured castles and ate pastries, and I even got to Sweet Chimneys. Thanks for the best summer, Mom and Dad. And you too, Grandma. This is Louie and Tony, and this is Trina and James," he said, showing her pictures of his new friends. "And the best part of it all is I have 4 pen pals. It was fun." Mike raced up to his room and got out some paper. "Dear Louie," he began writing. Now this story and this poster helps us remember that being a good friend can help us gain more friends. If you want to be a good friend and have more friends, then you need to be someone like you. We can make friends all over the world in different classrooms and different neighborhoods. All we have to do is be the kind of person they would want to have as a friend. This is the end of lesson 71, and we'll continue looking at social emotional positive actions.